heading into 2021. How pleased are you with the way spring practice
really
has gone?
Pleased. Just the way the guys have handled themselves, still with COVID being around, our protocols, and how hard they've worked, the culture, where we're headed. And then really schematically, we've finally been able to really dive in and implement a lot of things that we haven't. And the competitiveness. I wanted this to be about competing. Every job, I wanted guys to go after really hard. Just really proud of the guys and really happy for them. And excited for them today to be able to actually just get out and play in front of their families for the first time.
Yeah, and Coach, this is such a culmination, right, of what you've been working on this entire offseason. And how excited are you for these guys to be able to play in front of their parents? It's been so long since their parents have been able to see them play. How important is that to your guys?
Honestly, it's the most important thing to me. This game's not about me and not about our staff. It's about these players today finally being able to play in front of their parents. You know how it is, Mark. You play in front of your parents, you go out, have a bite to eat, spend time with them. And that was taken away from them all last year. So I'm just thrilled. It's so cool right now to just see the families here. This is the most amount of fans I've ever had since I've been a head coach.
That's
Specifically talking about Phil Jurkovec, Coach, what steps has he made from year one in the program to year two in terms of what we should expect to see from him this afternoon?
Leadership, command of the offense, knowledge. Coach Signetti has done such an incredible job in the time he's spent coming in on his own, learning it. You just see the way he comes out of the huddle, makes his read, sits in the pocket. Just love the strides that he's taken and really excited to see how he can progress going in the training camp.
Yeah, and then, Coach, defensively, that was an area that had much improvement from 2019 to 2020, but there's areas left for improvement. You got some key guys coming in the transfer portal. How excited are you to see them in live action today?
Excited to see them. Excited to see the young guys. Excited to see the vets, at that linebacker spot, losing Max and Isaiah. There's a lot of competition, and then there's a lot of guys with experience that are stepping it up. We've done a really good job, I think, implementing our defense, and we're going to have a lot more to show next season. Today we're going to keep it very vanilla for obvious reasons, but I want our guys flying around, attacking the ball, and just having a blast out here today.
All right, Coach, we're going to have fun with you. Thanks. We'll chat with you later on throughout the broadcast.
I appreciate you guys being here. Hey, let me know if you need anything. Thanks, guys.
We love it. Thanks, Coach. Coach Hafley getting set for this spring game. And you saw Tem Lukabu there on the right side of the screen, the defensive coordinator, Mark. And there are a lot of new faces on both sides of the football. But when you talk about transfers coming in, too, they're going to help. That defense, we're going to see some new faces.
Yeah, and I think probably the biggest name transfer is Jaden Lars would be. He's a free safety, strong safety guy out of Florida State. He played for Florida State last year, 5-star recruit out of high school, and he's a guy who found a home. And he chose it because of the defensive system, because of Jeff Hafley, because of Tem Lukabu. And, I mean, him along with Chris Banks, another transfer from Temple, two guys that really are going to push to get a lot of playing time and more good players. All that does is foster better competition amongst the guys who are already there.
Yeah, all told, 8 starters returning on defense, 9 on offense. So it's an experienced group at the same time as we will see a number of players who are not only transferring in, but some early enrollees, too, that we're going to get a chance to really get a good glimpse of for the first time in BC uniforms today, so that's pretty exciting. Jurkovec was remarkable, Mark, last year in his first year here after transferring in from Notre Dame. The passing offense that Frank Signetti employed was outstanding. Travis Levy, and then Zay Flowers, all ACC at that wideout spot, and they went from having a room where they didn't have very many wideouts to a bunch of quality wideouts now heading into this spring game, so that's going to be an area to keep an eye on. We mentioned it's Team Boston versus Team Eagles. The offense will be in white all day long, and the defense in red. And right off the top, Jurkovec is going deep, and he just overshoots Zay Flowers. Well, there's Boston College football for you now, Mark.
Oh, yeah, this is the good old Boston College football we've experienced for the last 10 years. Not. This is a pass-first offense, and why not take that shot? You got your big quarterback to the speedy Zay Flowers on the outside. Look at Zay smile. He knew he had him beat. That was Brandon Sebastian on the coverage. But that's something that we talked to Jeff Hafley. He said, look, one thing about this spring game, I want to let Phil air the ball out. I want him to feel comfortable just taking shots, doing whatever he wants to do with the football, because he's going to have that experience, 2-minute drills, stuff like that throughout the season.
2nd down and 10, running through the tackles, Travis Levy.
Yeah, and you notice how Travis Levy did not go down to the ground, and the whistle blew. They're going to play to thud in this game, which, for those who don't know that football lingo. Thud means you can bang them really hard, but don't wrap them up and tackle them to the ground. So if he happens to fall on the ground, me being a former defensive player, that's not my fault, as long as they didn't wrap him up.
Right, I'm guessing a man with your, you think about mass times acceleration. When you're thudding into somebody, they went down often. It wasn't like people just bounced off of you very often.
Yep, well, that would be, that's the case for a lot of guys, and let's hope no one gets too thudded, but this is football anyways.
Nice job by Denzel Blackwell breaking up that pass, bringing up 4th and 7. Let's look at our format then for the day. Mark said they're playing the thud, so no wrapping up and tackle. That's the tempo. First half, it'll be traditional play. The clock, and we'll have downs and whatnot, punting, special team situations, but no punt blocks or anything on special teams. Second half, it'll be more situational, so we'll get a chance to work on some very specific things in the second half of the game. But first half, it's going to be Team Boston, led by Jurkovec, versus Team Eagles, led by Grossell. So Danny Longman now into punt for Team Boston, 3 and out. So the Team Eagles defense doing a nice job. Zay Flowers on the return with the fair catch. We'll get a chance to see Dennis Grossell, who, Mark, this guy's been a real quality backup for the last couple of years. But you think about when pressed into action last year, the final game against Virginia in December, his first ever start, he threw for 520 yards and 4 touchdowns.
That's pretty good. That'll work, Chris. And I mean, how fortunate, right, is Frank Signetti to not only have Phil Jurkovec, but to have Dennis Grossell as well. I mean, anytime you can have a quality backup like that, who can run the entire offense. He's a 5th-year senior. He's had experience playing before. It's so easing, comforting for an offensive coordinator.
Receiver in motion. That's T-Day, Ezekiel T-Day. We'll see a lot of him. Number 17, Grossell, the pass. And he gets it out complete to number 84. That's Taji Johnson. Flied out from Powder Springs, Georgia. You mentioned Grossell last year against Virginia. Just lit it up, Mark.
Yeah, he did. And he was a little bit shorter than Phil Jurkovec, but he's got such a strong arm. You see the accuracy he has on these deep balls. To Zay Flowers was that one, and then just lofting it right over top. Perfectly placed in the corner of the end zone. And he's a guy that, again, if Boston College has their way, Phil Jurkovec never leaves the field. But if he has to, for any reason, let's say his shoe comes untied, they got a really good guy in Dennis Grossell to back him up.
Just picked up a first down on the first play and a pass play from scrimmage. That's Javian Dane. If that name sounds familiar, there's good reason.
Son of Ron Dane, former Heisman Trophy winner.
Not quite as big of a freight train as Ron Dane, but still 5'11", 218 pounds. He'll pack a wallet.
Yeah, he's been doing curls. He's been doing some bicep curls. I see those guns hanging out the shirt. That'll work.
You do that in your own time. Those aren't football workouts, right? You don't want to see the strength and conditioning coach see you doing curls.
Oh, good.
Defender got turned around on that play. It ends up being Lewis Bond, who's one of those early enrollees that we want to keep an eye on, number 83. Coach likened him to like a Golden Tate inside receiver, stout, a guy who might play in the NFL in that slot.
Yeah, and you see him lining up on the outside, but it was really just a curl route, but it was a really good job by the true freshman, Lewis Bond, to understand that the coverage was underneath. He backed up a little bit on his route, able to give Dennis Grossell a lane to get it in.
Stretch play cut back by Peter Stair. Has some running room into the second level, too, and maybe to the thud and then the echo of the whistle there.
Yeah,
it's got to be impossible. It's got to be impossible not to tackle a guy.
And think about the emotions, right? Like, even though it's explained before the game, you have a different colored jersey on than the other guy. You are going to try to tackle him naturally. That's when you go off the sideline, hey, just make it a little easy. Ease up just a tad.
Right. The spirit of the rule is to not drive somebody into the turf.
Correct. One thing I think is really nice, not on this play, but Boston College is doing some other stuff that people don't usually do. Well, that would be one of them. Dennis Grossell running the read option for a touchdown, but a lot of their plays so far in this game have come out of under center. So they've been taking snaps under center, and really gives that quarterback an opportunity to good play fake. And that one, they went in the gun, and really good job. Dennis Grossell, you saw his speed getting around the edge. Good read, good block on the outside by number 86, that's Charlie Gordonier.
Yeah, I think you talk about Grossell's speed, and I put that in quotation marks. You can't see me with the quotations because I'm not on camera. I think Grossell is going to be talking about that in film room for the next 6 months until the season starts.
When I was with the Giants, Eli Manning had a really, really impressive 5-yard run one time for a touchdown, and I'll tell you what, he asked the coaches to replay that over and over and over again because Eli Manning's speed is also in quotations. More spring football from the Heights when we come back.
Ball down the field in their first possession. Phil Jurkovec had a 4-and-out in theirs.
Watch this running back here. They got that speedy freshman. They call X, Xavier Coleman in. Ooh.
Instead, he's going downfield, and the ball a little bit underthrown to Zay Flowers. You heard a little pop there. I know that's what caused you to put that sinister laugh.
Yeah, well, it did. And I was directing everybody to watch the running back. Good for you. Well, this is college football, my man. This is Thud, too. You can get run over like that in Thud. Good job blitzing by the linebacker, but this is a running back, Xavier Coleman. He's a true freshman, 5'7", 180 out of New Jersey. Coaches are so high on him. They say, look, he's got leadership of a senior already and some explosiveness to really get outside and burn that outside zone.
Play action, Jurkovec hits his receiver over the middle. That's Jelani Galloway, had a big season last year, kind of coming out of nowhere. And they're excited about his production in 2021.
Yeah, you see right there the defensive line getting their hands up. But one of the things that makes Phil Jurkovec special, right, just makes him a little bit different than a lot of other guys and makes him a pro prospect is that height, to be able to see over that big line of scrimmage and fire just overhand directly downhill accurately to a guy like Jelani Galloway. Good pass.
Play action rolling out to his right. Jurkovec will keep it, directs blockers in front of him, gets what he can, which is a nice gain up near midfield. He saw Grossell running and said, you're not going to get the better of me in this quarterback room in terms of my speed and elusiveness in the open field.
Yeah, and that's a win for the defense, though, because that was just a naked bootleg. Really good job by the defenders to keep their eyes on their man, because a lot of times those are big crossing routes, and they were playing some man-to-man coverage. Good job by the Boston College defense of the Grossell team.
Fresh set of downs at midfield for Jurkovec. Pile moving for 5, 6, about 7 yards before Xavier Coleman is brought down. Here's a good look at the early enrollee coming to Boston College from Willingboro, New Jersey.
And he's normally kind of built to be a zone runner. At least that's what he did in high school. And I think what the coaches are really excited about, especially Frank Signetti, is to be able to establish more of an outside zone this year. That's what Signetti's offense is built around. But they didn't have the speed at the running back position to get outside, and so it was all inside zone. So it's going to be a little bit of a change. But you see the under center look. It's something different that defenses don't usually see nowadays.
And this time, Coleman loses his footing. He'll lose a couple of yards. Yeah, you think about the backs they've had over the last couple of years. It's A.J. Dillon, and very effective in his own right in terms of his style of running. But David Bailey last year was transferring out of the program. So it's a whole new look. They bring Travis Levy back, but he's kind of that smaller back too, Mark. He always played that third down back role in his years here at Boston College, but they're glad to have him back because he brings a lot of experience to an inexperienced room.
Yeah, well, he was mostly a third down back just because of the style of offense they ran. They needed bigger backs with that just power gap scheme game. Now he's going to fit perfectly as an every down back for Boston College because he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Travis Levy even played linebacker in a bowl game in 2017, so he's tough guy.
Great job by Denzel Blackwell breaking up that pass. Coming up next, 2 more spring games on the schedule. Pitt's blue and gold game at Heinz Field. Head coach Pat Narduzzi, the Panthers, prepping for next season. And North Carolina playing at Kenan Stadium. Heisman hopeful Sam Howell is going to lead the Heels, so triple header today of spring football with Pitt and North Carolina coming up next on the ACC Network and on the ESPN app.
Yeah, both those games are going to be fun to watch, just to kind of see what the rebuild is like. Pitt lost so many good edge rushers. Patrick Jones, Rashad Weaver. North Carolina's losing those two amazing running backs, Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, and a couple wide receivers as well. So it's going to be fun to watch what this ACC is made of for this 21 year.
There's Coach Hafley in his second season. So much NFL experience, not just Hafley, but Frank Signetti, offensive coordinator, Tem Lukabu, defensive coordinator. When you think about some of the assistant coaches, like a Matt Applebaum, who is the offensive line coach, had an opportunity to go to the NFL in the offseason and chose to stay at BC. That NFL experience is important nowadays, maybe more than ever, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it is. And not only just because of play style, but it allows recruits to see a window into what their future could be. A lot of guys going to college nowadays, they're going to college football in order to get that opportunity to play in the NFL. And when you can learn in an NFL-style offense, an NFL-style defense, it becomes really important in that recruiting process. That was a really good job right there by Bryce Steele, another true freshman linebacker who the coaches, again, we talk about coaches are really high on him. Jeff Hafley said, I am really happy with this recruiting class, and Bryce Steele might be one of the best out of it.
Steele from Raleigh, North Carolina, number 2, played safety in high school. Coach says he can really fly. Moving him down now closer inside that box at the linebacker spot. Grossell to pass on the outside. Taji Johnson again on the receiving end.
I think we got Phil Jurkovec on the sideline right now. Phil, how you doing? Great to see you. How has spring ball been for you, and how do you feel like the development in your relationship with your wide receivers has been?
I'm good, thank you. The relationship has been great. We've done some really good work over these past 13 practices. Still have a couple left, but trying to come out here today and just perform well and execute as best we can.
Taji Johnson again on the receiving end. It has to make you smile from ear to ear looking at this receiving room. I mean, think back to last summer when Kobe goes down with the injury. A lot of unknown factors there other than Zay, really. But now it seems like you've got 5, 6, 7 guys that you can rely on and some early enrollees that are already sharp.
Definitely. We have a few guys out right now, CJ, Kobe, and Spencer Witter. But we have a ton of weapons out here. So it's nice to see everybody working, everybody getting open. The receivers have been great all spring.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And your relationship with Frank Signetti goes back a while to high school. You went to high school with his nieces, but you've really developed a relationship this spring because you didn't have a spring last year. Basically, you were a freshman in this program. How has that relationship gone, and how much confidence does he have in you under center? Just be like, hey, look, Phil, go make something happen.
Yeah, the relationship has been great from the start. As soon as I came in, he's been the same, but pushing harder now this year, now that it's year 2. We got to step up our game just all around offensively. So Coach Signetti's been great, but he wants us to step up.
Phil, I know as a college kid, you're not loaded with a lot of money, but when Zion Johnson decided to come back, did you decide to take him to dinner?
Yeah, you have to show them love, but having him and Ben come back was huge, along with Alec. All those guys, they're old, they're experienced, but they're going to be great this year.
Yeah, that dinner was probably on the Eagle Bucks at the dining hall. It's a great resource, by the way. That's where I took my wife on our first date. I said, hey, do you want to go out for a date? You got some extra money on my Eagle Bucks? Let's go to the dining hall. And for some reason she said yes twice, to that date and later on. What are some of the things that you're looking for really throughout this summer, after this spring, to say, look, we got this checked off. Now we need to work on this, and this is what's going to make us kind of move to that next level?
Well, it's only April 24th now. We've put in a lot of work, but there's so much more to go. I love the summer because that's really whenever we can detail the reps more with the receivers. This spring was about coming together offensively and putting the plays together, but the summer is a great time just to be one-on-one with the receivers.
Grossell finding T-Day on a nice pass play for a first down for Team Eagles. Speaking of Grossell, he showed some wheels on that touchdown run. I got a feeling that's going to be shown in the film room quite a bit here over the next few months.
Yeah, he pulled it out last year, too. Dennis can run, so we're always telling him, keep the ball, try to pull it.
That's what you're saying in the quarterback room. I don't know if the running backs are saying the same thing. No, that's fantastic. Well, Phil, we'll let you get back to the game study. So thank you so much for coming on and joining, answer a few questions.
Thank you.
That's good stuff. Phil Jurkovec, while he watches Dennis Grossell move this team down the field again.
And interestingly enough, I mean, it seems kind of like Dennis Grossell's offense has got the momentum right now. They're moving the ball downfield. They're running. The timing is right. It's really important for this kind of second-string offensive line, second-string wide receivers to feel this rhythm, because obviously all these jobs are still open and can be battled for. That's one thing Jeff Hafley said, is I don't want these players to be playing this game like they're earning jobs. Jobs aren't earned in the spring. Jobs are earned in training camp before the season starts. So just go out there and have fun and let your athletic ability do the work.
Great job by that offensive line, creating a huge hole for Jackson Treaster. You know, Mark, you mentioned second-string offensive line. Well, as is often the case in college football, there's not a great deal of depth, especially experienced depth on the offensive line. So to be able to have a second unit led by guys like Finn Durston, Drew Kendall, who's an early enrollee. Dad Pete played at Boston College. He's a very versatile player, can play center, can play guard. They won a big recruiting battle for him. He's number 66 on this offensive line, playing center right now, as you can see him, with Grossell lining up under center. So it's a great opportunity to see these young cats.
Yeah, it was a great block on that last big run by Finn Dursteen. Just really good job moving out of the way, getting up to the second level, providing a lane. You mentioned Drew Kendall, and I know Pete Kendall personally, his father, and we said it was a hard recruiting battle, but gosh, I feel like he's been wearing maroon and gold since birth. So he's here now, though, and they're excited, definitely excited to have him.
There he is right there, 66. Coach talked about how he can play center, he can play guard. Playing center here today. You got a feeling he's going to be wearing a C on the front of his jersey before too long.
Yeah, #1 recruit out of the state of Massachusetts, and those are guys like that Boston College needs to retain. You can't let the top recruit in Massachusetts go somewhere else, and good job by Hafley and his crew to get Kendall on the field here for this team.
Play action. Intercepted. Almost picked off by one of those big defensive linemen, T.J. Ram. It's like, man, I had that right in the bread basket. That's a big old bread basket. A few loaves in that bread basket.
A few loaves, and he's checking his finger tape right now. It must have been the finger tape's fault why he dropped it. Usually that is the biggest issue. But good job. Look, he recognized screen and backed off his pass rush. I mean, that's what you get from a guy like T.J. Ram, who is a graduate student. I mean, he's been in this, not in this system, but he's been playing college football for a long time, so he can understand the feel of offensive linemen. Good job breaking up that screenplay.
3rd down and 10 now for Grossell. Has time, steps up in the pocket. Now he'll decide to run for it. They'll blow him dead inside the 10. It looks like it'll be 1st and goal for Team Eagles once again.
Yeah. Good job when play breaks down. Really good coverage on the back end. Little zone drop. Good pass rush on the outside. But that's what Dennis Grossell can do. I mean, we heard Phil. I guess, you know, we were comparing his speed in quotation marks, but I think he's got some pretty good wheels. He's so tall, it kind of looks like he's running slow with those long strides.
1st and goal from the 8. Grossell with a score using his legs earlier in the game. Now he's going to throw in the flat, complete to his running back. That's Javian Dane.
Yeah, and good job by Nick DiNucci, the linebacker, of coming over top and making this play, but good placement of the football. But Nick DiNucci, again, fought true traffic, got over top, and what these linebackers and safeties are able to provide for Tem Lukabu now is the ability to play man-to-man. They had to play a lot of zone last year just because of the speed at the linebacker position was lacking. Now they feel like they have some guys who can really match up and play man and open up the playbook for Tem Lukabu.
They could bootleg for Grossell. Looking into the end zone. Fires into the corner. Nice catch, but out of bounds. As Lewis Bond shows his ability to snag the ball out of the air. He just couldn't quite get a foot in bounds.
Yeah, let's take another look. That looked really close. But you see Lewis Bond kind of coming off of the front side. Good little stutter step in the back of the end zone, and that was close. That little toe tap on the back end. Good ball by Grossell. That foot is, I think that was a touchdown.
And that's close. That right foot may have still been in. That's the one to keep an eye on. But either way, Bond showing great body control and hands.
And that's the great thing about spring football. Touchdown or no touchdown, that's on film now. Coaches know you can do that as a true freshman.
Grossell throws it out of bounds right at the line of scrimmage to bring up 4th down. So a nice job by the Team Boston defense. Keep Grossell's squad out of the end zone. Nick DiNucci and company.
Yeah, and it's a good sign because Boston College defense was not great in the red zone last year, ranked 13 in the ACC. So, again, and that's another area where they're trying to solidify and improve on, and it's a good stop inside the 10 for that defense. Which I still can't remember I still can't remember whether that was Eagles or Boston team, but the defense did a good job.
We'll try to keep that straight for you. Almost feel like calling them Team Grossell and Team Jurkovec. Maybe that's what we'll do the rest of the way. Connor Litton buries the field goal. It's 10-0.
For 175 years, New York Life has been helping people act on their love.
Okay.
So they can look back and say, we did good.
Looking for a better...
Woodson, 67 yards, Trevor Lawrence.
Next chapter. NFL Draft begins Thursday on ESPN and ABC.
NFL Draft this Thursday. Jim Nagy's going to join us in a little bit to talk about Boston College prospects. And look at that athletic play. Now, first of all, Zay Flowers fumbled the football, which is not good. But for him to stick with it, he got that fortuitous home field turf bounce right back into his gut, and he took off with it.
He did. And I think what might even be more impressive is Hugh Davis, number 51, being able to track him down from that linebacker position, because even though the ball hit the ground, it didn't look like it slowed Zay Flowers down at all. And Hugh Davis is a guy that he's really known for being a tough, strong middle linebacker, but he showed some range and some speed on that play. And we talked to Coach today, he's definitely in the mix for competing for that starting job.
Pass complete out of the backfield. Now, in that case, doesn't this look like Sheeta Salal wants to have the sack? He's like, I got him, Coach.
I think Jeff Hafley told the refs that, let's be slow on that sack whistle. I want to see what my quarterback can do a little bit, because, we know, we watched Phil Jurkovec play in live bullets. He's not going down. That right there was not going to bring Phil Jurkovec down. Might have brought some other quarterbacks down.
Andre Hines on the carry. Redshirt freshman from Staten Island. This is a big back. This brings you a little bit more girth, huh? 6'2", 215.
Yeah, a little bit, and also a little bit more height too, right? And that can help in the passing game. But also, if you're able to be a tall running back but keep your pads low, think of Eddie George, kind of thumper. You can really fly, and you can really make a big difference inside the tackles.
Out in the flat. It's his receiver, Jalen Gill. First time we've mentioned his name, and Coach Hafley said he has really impressed this spring. Expect a big jump in production from him, with Zay Flowers commanding so much attention on the other side. Number one, he thinks he's going to have a big year. Through one quarter here in the Jay Mcgillis Memorial Spring Game at Boston College. Dennis Grossell, of all people, using his legs to get into the end zone. His team leads by 10.
I'm ordering some burritos.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Back at the BC Spring Game, Phil Jurkovec's team out on the field taking over, and joined now by Dennis Grossell, the author of the only touchdown in this game so far, and you did it with your legs. I'm guessing that's going to be shown in film room for like the next 5 months every day.
That's right. We call that a teach tape right there.
Teach tape, absolutely. And
that's right.
Yeah, we were just talking, kind of offline, off air, just a little bit about how spring has been on campus. Obviously, it's been a crazy year. But what has it been like to be back on campus? All the students are back on campus and really feeling like you're back in the flow of college football.
Yeah, that's what for the most part, that's what we're really focusing on, is getting back in the flow of things. People are back on campus, starting to get outside a little bit. The weather's getting nice, and it's starting to feel like football again, really. We got a ton of fans in the stands today, so it's a really cool atmosphere, and, just makes us look forward to the fall even more.
Dennis, Boston College fans in the ACC certainly know that you are more than capable backup quarterback. But to be able to get in the game in a start against Virginia and do what you did at the end of last year, was there something that you could say, like, look, hey, I knew I could do this, and given the opportunity, I wanted to make the most of it, and you did?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's, knowing my skill set and knowing that I'm confident in my skills, and then again, just, really going out there and not wanting to let the team down or not really lose a step in anything when, Phil was unable to play. So that's really the mindset going in every week is, if something were to happen, just, pick up where we left off and, not really let all the other guys down who have been working all game or all week and all season for that.
Yeah, we're showing the fans some of those top plays right now. Big touchdown pass to Zay Flowers with that deep ball accuracy, then that little loft over top to Jelani Galloway. It was a fun game to watch, I got to say, and I don't think it was a big surprise, really, for a lot of the guys who have watched you play back in 2019, and you got a bunch of playing time. What does it mean to you to be able to, just learn from a guy like Frank Signetti and be in a room with the rest of these quarterbacks now as really the leader, the fifth-year guy, being able to teach them the little nuances that you know about college football?
Yeah, it's been a blast. It's been really fun. We've been learning a ton, and it's awesome to be in the room with those guys and with Coach Signetti again. To really just build on what we started last year. And that's the biggest thing, is being back in the program again, really being able to build on what we started last year, and then, just going out and having fun with it. And that's the biggest thing, is just, staying loose, enjoying ourselves, and going and just learning football and really going out and playing well.
Dennis, one last thing before we let you go. Everyone's always interested in the freshmen and guys like Bond and Reynolds, these early enrollees. Tell me about what you've seen from them in these first 3 weeks of practice and how they've impressed.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have seen enough of, Lewis Bond already. That's just a small sample of what he can do out there. Dante's been awesome, too. Unfortunately, couldn't be able to suit up today, but they're really talented guys, and we're expecting them to help us right away. But, it's just awesome to have them here early. Shows that they want to be here and want to make us better, and we've embraced them with open arms because, they've been putting on a pretty good show in the last couple weeks of practice.
Dennis, appreciate your time. Thanks, man. Have fun the rest of the day.
All right, thanks, guys. You too.
I appreciate it. Dennis Grossell going to graduate with his master's degree this spring in sports administration. Been a great part of this program for a number of years. And, man, having a backup quarterback when guys are just getting beaten up by these linebackers and rush ends every Saturday, Mark, is huge. And he showed that last year with that huge game against Virginia.
Yeah, he did. And it's rare. It's rare to have a backup that has any experience, really, in college football right now, with the transfer portal, with guys, knowing that maybe I'm not going to be the starter day one, they leave to try to find other opportunities. But Grossell is a guy that decided to stay. He understands the importance of his Boston College education. He's getting a graduate degree. Oh, yeah, and by the way, this guy can actually ball. He really can play. He's really accurate, very tall, long passer, and he's got such moxie about him where it's just fortunate that Boston College is able to retain such a great player.
Showing his wheels on the touchdown run. Brandon Barlow, the tight end, getting involved here. So Jurkovec finding him underneath a couple of times. Now he hits his tailback, Xavier Coleman.
I think we got our colors mixed up. Brandon Barlow. That's one thing about this game. Brandon Barlow probably wasn't catching that pass. I think it might have been Brandon Smith.
You're right, Brandon Smith. I got my Brandons mixed up. Brandon Barlow is a defensive end.
They decided to wear the same jersey number and have the same name, so that helps us out. But Brandon Smith's a guy, again, you wonder how are you going to replace Hunter Long, right? How does that happen? Well, it's not probably going to be by one guy. It just isn't. And so you got guys like Spencer Witter who came back, guys who, like Joey Luchetti, who started as a defensive end. Now he transferred over to tight end. He was hurt last year and didn't play at all, so he's back as well. But it's great to see another guy like Brandon Smith making two big catches so far in this game.
That nice defensive play as Jelani was the intended receiver.
And best name in college football, Nick Barup, made that defensive play, knocking it away.
Barup, who's a great ultimate Frisbee player, from what I understand. And that's not something, you know, baseball, lacrosse, dual sport athletes, you understand. You see those guys a lot in football. Ultimate Frisbee, maybe not so much.
No, but I'll tell you what, he played that Frisbee really well in the air on that play.
Yeah.
He swatted that bad boy down.
Danny Longman now to attempt the field goal and get the Jurkovec squad on the board. Just pushed it to the right, incomplete. So the Eagles continuing to pitch a shutout here. Early second quarter in Chestnut Hill.
If your lawn looks like this, get it back on track like this with GrowTrax. The
Jurkovec's 10-0 here in the second quarter. Doug Flutie masked up. Keeping watch on Alumni Stadium here. You see number 22 retired. Looking for 94 there. Still don't see it. That's probably in the coming days, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're lobbying for it. That'll be fine.
You and Kiwanuka, right?
Yeah, I talked to Kiwi yesterday. We're fine with like a Herzanuka or I don't think Kiwi Lick. I don't think Kiwi Lick is better. I think Herzanuka might be.
Oh, Kiwi Lick is great. I didn't even think about that. That's what it should be.
But man, you think back to the days, especially going through these spring ball practices, and just understanding that, look, score doesn't matter. It's all about technique and fundamentals, and it's about playing hard. I think one of the things that spring ball teaches these players is how to practice hard. And that's instilled by the coaches and just rep over and over again.
Grossell going deep, flag on the play. There you see C.J. Burton, another early enrollee, good-looking athlete from Richmond, Virginia.
Pass interference, defense, number 1, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Too athletic on that play. He doesn't believe it, but the officials called for pass interference.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that C.J. Burton has a decent point, but wide receiver stopped running. But either way, C.J. Burton, I think he's one of the guys that Boston College won't usually get. I mean, he's a highly ranked 4-star cornerback, the number 3 cornerback.
On the play, it'll be second down.
Well, there's a sack anyway, so no penalty.
Wow,
so
defense bailed out.
Yeah, the one time they're going to call it a sack. But anyway, he's the number 3 cornerback in the entire country, according to ESPN. And he's a guy that, look, he came here because of Jeff Hafley. Jeff Hafley, before he was a coordinator, he was a defensive back coach and did some of that as well at Ohio State. And whenever you come to a school who has a head coach that played your position or coached your position specifically, you have a really high premium on your education when you get here. And so that's why C.J. Burton is here. And Coach Hafley said, look, this guy is going to be really, really good.
First down and 10 from the 20 for Grossell. Has time to throw. Just high over his intended receiver's arms. Taji Johnson. Tomorrow we're going to bring more great ACC softball your way. Number 7 Florida State takes on host Louisville in the final game of a 4-game set from Ulmer Stadium. Our coverage starts at noon Eastern, right here on the ACC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app. Grant Carlson, returning starter at punter, going to come in and give it a boot. No rushing the punter today, as is usually the case in the spring game. Zay Flowers back to return it. Zay Flowers with the fair catch at his own 40. All ACC, first team last year, and deservedly so. When you think about the year he put in, 56 catches, 892 yards, 9 scores, Mark. He sort of gave us that taste in his freshman year of what he could do, and then he exploded last year.
Yeah, he did. We saw his shiftiness. We saw his ability to get open. But there were some drops that for early year Last year, different story. He was catching everything. He was going out for balls, and he joined Alec Lindstrom, who returned, and Hunter Long, who has entered his name into the NFL draft as guys who were on that first team. You look at the rest of them. Ben Petrula's back. Isaiah McDuffie gone. Max Richardson gone. But one of the things, you look at all those offensive linemen. I mean, Boston College is in a fortunate position. They are returning 5 of 5 starting offensive linemen, and also who would have been their 6th and 7th probably offensive linemen from last year. So they have offensive line depth. They have continuity. And last year, I remember talking to Frank Signetti just about that offensive line. He said, look, every single person has the pieces to be great. We just haven't come together and done it as a whole yet. And so that's what this offseason is all about. If these guys get clicking, finding their rhythm at their natural spots, you're going to see some really, really good offensive line play from Boston College this season.
Xavier Coleman now lining up in the backfield. Quickly over the middle and gets it to Gill again. That's 2 in a row now. Had they not played to the thud, and that was a little thud, Mark, Gill might have been gone to the races.
Yeah, Gill had transferred in from Ohio State last year, and I remember how excited Boston College fans were when his waiver was granted and he was able to play last year. But coaches said, look, he's got all the skills again, but just doesn't have the knowledge yet of our system to move around and be multiple. They're so excited because he can play outside, inside, slot. He can even go in and be a pseudo tight end at times. Just a really good talent, a good player. And, he's posed to have a great season. You mentioned before, he plays on the opposite side of Zay Flowers. So the two of those guys are going to spread out a defense.
Xavier Coleman showing his pass-catching skills out of the backfield. Boston College expects Pat Garwo to be back in the fall. He's been injured all spring, hasn't practiced at all. One of those things where he had to wait till the offseason to get some surgery, and so he's just been rehabbing. So he'll be a little bit more of a bigger back, as was Andre Hines. And then you throw in Levy, who's the experienced back, and the early enrollee, Xavier Coleman, who is most likely really the most explosive of the backs in this backfield. Now Flowers in space. Gets by Bear up and gets down close to the 10-yard line.
Yeah, we saw early in the game, too, Peter Stair, another guy, redshirt junior out of California. He got some good carries and some good production at that running back position. You see Jurkovec throwing on the run. Little bootleg pass. Again, bootlegs are something that defenses don't see a whole lot in college football because of the fact that there aren't a lot of guys taking snaps from under center. But what this allows Boston College to do is have really hard run play action fakes and then get some guys open, whether it's crossing routes or down behind the defense. So we're seeing just a different style offense, and more so what you would watch on Sundays from the New York Giants, when Coach Signetti was there, from Green Bay Packers, from 49ers. I mean, that's one of the things that Jeff Hafley talked about was this is a place where quarterbacks are going to want to come. Because if you want to play in an offense like the 49ers with Shanahan or Matt LaFleur, the Packers, like this is that offense. You'll get those live reps.
Nice job by free safety Mike Palmer on that last play. Graduate student knocking the ball away. Trying
Great
Andre Hines in the middle. Yeah, nice defensive play.
Yeah, great job up front. I mean, that was Chibuzi Onwuka, grad transfer from Buffalo a year ago. But he decided to come back as well. He was a grad transfer, got granted that 6th year of eligibility, and he is a kind of a road hog up front. He's got a little bit bigger, about 290, and uses that leverage well. So a good arm action.
So 3rd down and 10 from just inside the 12 for Jurkovec. BC brings some pressure. They do whistle it dead. I was wondering if they were going to do that. I'm sure because there aren't a lot of people in the stands, you can hear the players. If Mark was playing, he would have screamed at the officials. Like, I got to the quarterback, blow the whistle, and we finally heard it.
Oh, yeah. Usually it's a scream and a throw the hands up and a whatever, but they got this one. But watch the defensive line up front. They did not have a very good pass rush in terms of just from their front 4 last year. But you saw guys out there like Marcus Valdez, Cam Horsley, Chibuzi Onwuka, Sheeta Salah. These guys have all dedicated their offseason to their pass rush game, and it's shown. They put on more weight through the strength program, and good job on that one again to stop the Jurkovec squad from getting in the end zone.
And Boumeri misses, so the kicking game that coach was so complimentary about this week, now we've got 2 missed field goals. We have to go back to the drawing board there. Still 10-0. The Eagles over Boston here in the second quarter.
The fact that Coach Hafley is a defensive-minded coach, and then, you know, my parents, more specifically my dad, he did a lot of research on Coach Tim and Coach Turn and Coach Half, and, you know, we just heard a lot of good things from them. You know, once I got in the portal, you know, a lot of dudes that were at Ohio State when I was previously committed in high school, they were just telling me how good of a coach Coach Turn is and Coach Hafley was.
Back at Boston College spring game, that was Jaden Lars Woodby, who transferred to Boston College from Florida State, one of a number of transfers coming into this program, Mark. And he's not dressed and playing today, but they're expecting immediate help from number 9.
Yeah, and he's not without pads on because he's hurt. I think he's the guy that came in and coach was, you know, said he worked enough. He's had enough experience. Let's give him a little rest and some relaxation today. You see him with the clipboard in his hand, just understanding the defense, learning calls and getting there. But what he brings to the field, unbelievable speed. I mean, he is a guy that from that strong safety position has the size to play down in the box, but he can also cover man-to-man. And so he's a guy that's going to be a huge, huge difference maker for this Boston College team. Transferred in from FSU. Here he is as a Florida State player. Number 20 coming off the edge. You see that, obviously, that speed blitz off the edge. Really good leader, Coach Hafley said as well. And you see, he's able to play in the box. He was a linebacker / safety at Florida State. Fills the gaps. Really big hits. I mean, you watch some of those film, and you have to check the other color jersey to see who they were playing, because that was Virginia Tech. That was not an FCS school. That was a Virginia Tech team that Jaden Lars Woodby just knocked the snot out of.
There was his tweet when he made the decision to come to BC, and Coach Hafley said, this guy is captain material, and he wears him out. He's just constantly texting him, going into his office, wants to watch film, wants to talk about scheme. And you said it earlier, Mark, a former NFL defensive backs coach, as Jeff Hafley is, Jaden Lars Woodby has to be in heaven to be able to bounce things off of him.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I'm sure Gianna Hafley, Coach Hafley's wife, is not thrilled about the text messages and the emails at all hours of the night doing film. But guess what? That's a part of college football coaching. You just love it, right? You love when guys want to learn. And that's obviously the case with Jaden Lars Woodby. So you get him as well as Isaiah Graham-Mobley, who we've seen at a Temple, Chris Banks at a Temple as well. Those two guys, all three of those guys are going to make huge splashes on this defense.
Could have a running back, too, out of West Virginia. Alex Sinkfield is not enrolled yet in Boston College, but they are hoping to add him for the summer, and that would, again, add to this running back room that includes a bunch of new faces and guys like Javian Dane, who ripped off a couple of good runs in this drive. Get more carries in 2021.
Yeah, it's important, too, to have just different style backs in the backfield, especially for this type of offense. It works the best when you have that speed guy on the outside. You have really the all-purpose back, and then you have a thumper. And Javian Dane's a guy who can be that thumper on the inside for BC, especially with all those hog mollies up front who are so used to just leaning forward and driving off the ball in that old Steve Adazio offense.
Grossell high and it was a great catch. Wow. Look at Taji Johnson, who's a guy that coach signaled out because of his frame. If you could add just a little bit more weight, just a sophomore out of Georgia. He's a cat that could line up at tight end even, but look at these hands. Yeah, great hands. He would have been absolutely destroyed, though, by Jalen Bailey in a real game. That's a situation where you high five the wide receiver, but you go to the quarterback and say, look,
We want that guy to play again. Do not ever throw that ball high on the slant across the middle.
That's T-Day on the jet sweep. He gets run out of bounds by a host of tacklers. Paul Theobald, one of them. T-Day's a Canadian. Grew too tall to play hockey, so he decided to try his wares on the gridiron. Glad he did.
I'm pretty sure there's not such a thing as too tall for hockey. I've been around some of those hockey. There's a lot of good hockey players at Boston College. Yeah, there's some good small ones, but some of those big dudes.
No question.
Put some skates on them, add 6 inches, forget about it.
One of the great Bruins of all time, Dan Chara and Andy Sutton, a couple of guys who are just massive
monsters. But again, in order to complement, part of building a team and part of building a roster for these coaches is understanding what you have, understanding what type of offense you want to run, and then filling in other pieces. Whether it's with guys that you don't have yet or guys that you want to develop. And having a 6'3", 210-pound wide receiver in Taji Johnson, I mean, that completes that size advantage that you need to have on the outside.
Low snap. Grossell does the wise decision to just fall on it, and it'll bring up 4th down.
Seen a couple balls on the ground today, and that's, again, not all right, but to be expected in the spring. And one of the things I love about Coach Hafley, he said, you will see me with a smile on my face, even though we won't, because you see him there masked up. There's no smile to be seen under that white mask, but he's smiling because he understands, look, this is a time for enjoyment, for enjoying football. He's not going to yell and curse and scream at these guys for having a fumbled snap or something like that. Those things are for later, for the next 2 practices that they'll have after this spring game.
Jalen Gill with the fair catch at his own 9. The Mcgillis family is here. Mentioned at the top, it's the Jay Mcgillis Memorial Spring Game. There's a Mcgillis family. Game named after Jay Mcgillis, who was a former player here at Boston College. Passed away from leukemia back in 1992. Every year they award the number 31 jersey to a defensive back, and we will get that award at halftime, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, and there's a Jay Mcgillis locker in the locker room that sits empty, but with that number 31 on, and it's such a special award it's a starting defensive back who exhibits some of that courage that Jay had during his battle. But I've spoken to a bunch of guys who played with Jay back in the day and said, look, he was a fabulous player, really good leader, and it was just an absolute shame what happened. But he has done a lot since passing with his family's help and providing a lot of hope for a lot of people that are currently battling cancer, including myself. When I was diagnosed with bone cancer as a junior in college, and I just asked people, tell me a little bit about Jay Mcgillis and what his battle was like and how he fought, and I tried to emulate some of that in my own battle.
And we'll hear more about Jay Mcgillis from his former head coach here at Boston College, Tom Coughlin, who you had the pleasure of speaking to earlier in the week. We'll hear that at halftime. Jurkovec now on play action. Fires it over the middle, has his receiver. That's Jalen Gill. Slips a tackle.
Boston College sits first timeout at half. It'll be a 30-second timeout.
Jurkovec's team calling a timeout as we get near halftime. Chris Cotter, Mark Hertzlick with you, getting an opportunity to wear ties for the first time in a long time. Lick hopefully will be on campus here soon, as we're still calling games from our offices, but it's still fun anyways, and great to have football back.
Yeah, it's so fantastic to have football, and you heard it from Dennis Grossell a little bit. Now students are back on campus. Some stuff's done remotely, but these parents are in the stadium, and how important it is for these players to have the parents. They really don't care about me or you, Chris, being there, but we care because we like the excitement and we like the energy of the stadium. But football is slowly returning back to normal, and gosh, what a way to have this spring kind of come to wraps with this day of a bunch of great spring games. Start with Boston College, then Pitt, then UNC, and spring will be done. And then you move into that summer training where these guys are really going to separate themselves. You either grind during that summer break and come back ready to go, or you don't. And that's really what's going to determine who becomes the starters or not in next year.
You mentioned parents. Mike Vrabel in attendance Getting an opportunity to see his son Tyler, who's banged up really all of last year, as we go to the end zone, and Zay Flowers is there. And Jurkovec's squad is on the board.
It was only a matter of time before those two connected on a deep ball. Phil Jurkovec, such good ball placement. You aim for that back corner pylon, put it right there. And Zay Flowers. You see him on the left side of your screen. Good inside release, then wove back outside on Josh DeBerry. Fantastic ball placement and just a perfect catch in the back corner of the end zone.
That is a perfect pass, isn't it?
That is. And it had the loft on it. That's one thing that's so hard for a quarterback, is to put that on that pylon with that type of air underneath it so it gets over top of the defender. Great throw, great catch, really good drive by Jurkovec's squad.
Busy time of year in the ACC. Tomorrow afternoon, men's lacrosse matchup. Number 2 Notre Dame takes on number 4 North Carolina at Kenan Stadium. These games have been unbelievable all season long. Expect nothing different tomorrow. Paul Carcaterra and myself will be on the call. 2 o'clock, they'll face off on the ACC network and streaming live on the ESPN app.
Yeah, if you guys haven't heard Chris Cotter and Paul Carcaterra call a lacrosse game, these guys can call a lacrosse game. It is fun to listen to, and what better way to represent ACC sports. I mean, ACC in lacrosse this year has just been absolutely dominant.
You're the best, dude. Next time we get on the road, first round's on me. It is a great year in ACC lacrosse, though. Man, it has been fun. And, I mean, all 5 teams in the league can win a national title. Even Syracuse, which is struggling a little bit right now, but they've got a big game this afternoon against Virginia. All 5 teams are that good. If they put it together during a stretch in May when we're in the postseason, watch out. 1 minute left to go in this first half. So a 2-minute drill for BC, and Phil Jurkovec with the touchdown pass to Zay Flowers. Let's see what Grossell can do. Now he's going up top. And he has a receiver open, and just the ball got up into the wind a little bit and died before he was able to hit T-Day.
Yeah, T-Day's another guy who he's a little taller. He's on the taller side, 6'2", 205, but coach said he can really fly. And this was a breakdown defensively. The free safety was not in the middle of the field. Grossell saw it and did all he could to get it out in front of T-Day. You see that speed to get behind defender, just got hung up there too much. Good job on the pass rush. But again, another weapon on the outside for Boston College.
Flag down. That might be offside on the defense. And Lewis Bond is such a good-looking receiver for a young kid whose teammates last fall are still in high school.
Offside. Defense. Penalties decline. I'll take the result of the play. First down.
Yeah, as true freshman Donovan Ezzie who's coming off the edge, and he's a guy who's come in. He's a kind of an undersized defensive end, only 6'2", 225. He has a really good get-off. He didn't watch the ball, but the steps were fast on that pass rush. See him lined up at that defensive end, number 16 at the bottom of your screen.
Such a pro move on your part, Donovan Ezzie. It's Ezeraku, technically, but I think we're going to call him Donovan Ezzie for the rest of his career here at Boston College. Play blown dead.
And there's C.J. Burton. We just talked about Donovan Ezzie in the pass rush, a true freshman. We talked about Bryce Steele, another true freshman at that linebacker position, and then, C.J. Burton again. We talked about him earlier, but making another play. Obviously, there's that pass rush by Ezzie getting in there, getting a sack. Say that full name again, Chris. Let me get that real quick.
Donovan Ezeraku.
I like it.
There's another true freshman on the offensive line. We haven't mentioned his name yet. That's a little bit more difficult. Ilya Kragnovic. And I can't believe we haven't mentioned him because he's like the size of a mountain. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Had a receiver open. And I think Grossell is probably a little bit angry at himself for missing Charlie Gordon-Year because he might have gone to the house.
Yeah, he had Gordon-Year, probably one of the more athletic route running tight ends. You see him coming from that number 3 position. Good job understanding that it's cover 3. In cover 3 with a post safety, you bend that vertical route over top. Maybe didn't bend it, just should have bent it maybe a little bit more. That's why you get these repetitions. You get more and more time where you understand where that quarterback's going to put the ball.
3rd and 17 for Grossell. Has time in the pocket, steps up over the middle, and this one is going to be intercepted. And they're not going to call this one back. Inside the 30-yard line. That looks like Jalen Williams. It is free safety. Sophomore out of Washington, Maryland with the interception.
You see him back in the middle of the field at that free safety spot, leaning over to that 3-by-1 side. Just kind of a poor throw out in front of the wide receiver. Good job capitalizing, getting up from a little slip and making that interception.
So in the second half, Mark, we're going to get situational football, but we'll get some here with 27 seconds left to go in the half. And Phil Jurkovec bringing his team out with one final shot to see what they can do. 3 or 4 plays to put in the end zone before you bring the kicking unit on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what if Signetti lets them run, really kind of a 2-minute, 30-second offense. Some quick sideline passes, or if they're just going to kind of run the ball a little bit. Treat this as a spring game.
Underneath, Brandon Smith on the catch, gives about 5 yards. Does get out of bounds to stop the clock.
Yeah, Brandon Smith again, another big catch. He's been a guy that Kovic has just gone to over and over again. And if you're Brandon Smith, you understand, look, seems like Phil Jurkovec likes to throw to tight ends. Hunter Long knows best. Led the country in receptions for a tight end last year.
Now going to the end zone, and Flowers makes another great catch. Was he in? He was.
Wow, great ball. Good catch. And this is a fun battle to watch. You get Brandon Sebastian, the senior cornerback, big, good, solid cornerback on the outside against Zay Flowers. You see him at the right side of the screen. Good release. It's really pretty well defended, but the ball could not be put any more perfect. And again, this is something that quarterbacks in college don't usually do. It's a 5-step drop from under center. Great throw.
Jurkovec's team Boston striking with 2 touchdown passes to Zay Flowers to take a 14-10 lead over Dennis Grossell's Eagles. Just 14 seconds left in this first half. Boston College in 2021. Mark, when you look at this schedule, you get 3 games, and I'm not saying that 2 road games are ever easy, so you're going to have to play in those games, but I feel like before that Mizzou game on the 25th, you get some games to get everybody's feet wet and to kind of get into the season a little bit before a really tough stretch. I mean, Mizzou at Clemson, NC State at Louisville.
Yeah, and that middle of the season, that October is going to be a very important time for Boston College, and you want to try to get all 4 wins in September, and then you're going to have a battle at Clemson, but I mean, Boston College is not scared of Clemson. We saw that last year. Trevor Lawrence was not in that game. We definitely saw the first time we saw DJ Uiagalelei, and Boston College played well against them. It was a game all the way throughout. Boston College was actually ahead for most of that first half. So it's going to be an interesting year. And how well can these pieces come together? How much can this early preparation pay off when they're actually suiting up, buckling chin straps, got names on the back of their jerseys?
Grossell just a little bit behind Johnson. Now 7 seconds left in the half.
Chris, so far in this first half, I've been impressed with both sides of the ball. It hasn't been easy sailing or many balls thrown really uncovered behind the defense for either team. And then offensively, they've produced moving the ball down the field. Boston College last year was keen on having long scoring drives. And it seems like they're just continuing methodically moving the ball downfield and utilizing that passing game and sprinkling in the run.
Ezekiel T-Day squeezes it with just 2 seconds left. Gerard Phelan is not suited up today, so it's going to have to be somebody else that goes down to catch it in the end zone.
I got my money on T-Day. I think they want to see what the 6'2", 205-pound guy can do. Number 17. There he is.
You got some height. You got 17 at 6'2". You got 84 at 6'3". That's what you need with a jump ball. Or just get behind the defense and catch it falling down, as Mr. Phelan did some 35 years ago. This play looks a lot like that play. That doesn't, though. It'll be a little short of the end zone, and it's going to be intercepted by the defense here on the final play of this first half. And John News is not exactly satisfied with just taking a knee. They're finally going to blow it dead. He wanted 6.
Oh,
now he's winded.
Yeah, that reminded me of the kind of a Matt Ryan play. Boston College fans remember back in 2007 where Matt Ryan came back against Virginia Tech. That rolled out just right through it to Rich Gunnell, who is now coaching the running backs for Boston College. Score that touchdown in Blacksburg. There's a little thud right at the end. Fumbled the ball, though.
Into midfield as we announce the recipient of this year's Jay Mcgillis Memorial.
Time for the Jay Mcgillis jersey presentation. Here's our public address announcer here at Alumni Stadium.
Qualities of Jay, including team dedication, leadership, competitive spirit, and personal concern for family, friends, and teammates. Please welcome to the field head coach Jeff Hafley and associate head coach Azar Abdul Rahim. Boston College would like to welcome Jay Mcgillis's mother, Pat, brother Paul, and sister Brianna joining us at Alumni Stadium today. Without further ado, this year's recipient of the Jay Mcgillis Memorial Scholarship from Oxon Hill, Maryland, number 5, Dion Jones. Congratulations, Dion, and thank you to the Mcgillis family.
Oh, that's great. Dion Jones, who isn't playing today, but recipient of the Jay Mcgillis number 31 jersey and scholarship. That's fantastic. Much more on the life of Jay Mcgillis and the foundation coming up.
Did more after the catch. Like, he really took his game to the next level. So I see a guy as a starter level player at the next level. And we got to keep going to Boston College for these guys, because we got Tommy Sweeney in the Senior Bowl a couple years ago who's doing great things in Buffalo, and now Hunter Long.
Yeah, and Hunter Long was really a young guy in that room with Tommy Sweeney and learned from a lot of those guys. That was probably one of the most deep positions that they had. You know, linebacker is another spot that Boston College is trying to rebuild on, because every single one of the linebackers from last year is gone. They're entered their name into the draft. But really the top two, Isaiah McDuffie and Max Richardson, I'm sorry, are two guys that are hoping to get their name called. What did you see from them, and kind of what is their prospects like in the NFL?
Yeah, those two guys, McDuffie and Richardson, they're a little similar in terms of their body type and their skill set. I do think they both have a chance to go somewhere on day 3. Both really, really active players. I think that's what Boston College is going to have to replace, is just the motor and the effort and the production. You know, McDuffie was a guy that kind of popped on our radar late that might be eligible for the Senior Bowl because he did get his diploma. And he can really close. He can find the football and he can close. And Max Richardson's the same way. You've got two highly instinctive, highly active guys. So that's a big hole on that Boston College defense. Again, I think somewhere on day 3 of the draft, I wouldn't be surprised if both those guys get their names called.
All right, Jim, last one for us. Zion Johnson was a guy who made a late decision to come back to Boston College. Were you surprised about that? And where did you see him going if he went to the NFL this year? And what do you think of his decision to come back to BC?
Yeah, it certainly was a surprise, because he was committed to come down here to Mobile and play in our game. and he was really projected as a top 50 player in this year's draft. We got a lot of feedback from teams that way. The thing with Zion was he played at such a high level as a guard in 2019, and then they kicked him out to left tackle last year, and he had some really rough patches, at the start of the season, and then worked his way in, really kind of settled in at tackle. But I do think he projects more on the interior. Going into next fall, he's going to be one of the top interior offensive line prospects. Hopefully him coming back will get him somewhere in round 1 next year.
Jim, always good to see you. Good to hear more from you. And we'll look forward to hearing more from you between now and the draft, which begins on Thursday. Thanks a lot, my man.
Fellas, good to be on with you.
All right, Jim Nagy. Yeah, good seeing you. Jim Nagy, as always. Good to see him every January down at the Reese Senior Bowl in Mobile. And now helping us out in terms of draft analysis with Hunter Long.
Yep.
Obviously, you think he's got to have a bright future at the NFL.
Yeah, you do. And he's one of those guys that really the NFL game has moved to really two types of tight ends. Really, you're either an inline tight end, we call it the Y tight end, or you're kind of a move guy, where you're the U tight end, where you can move around, you can be in that slot. And Hunter Long is kind of a rare person that can do both. He has the size and the strength to be a run blocker, but he has such soft hands that he's a really reliable target and has speed to break away. So he's not going to be the Kyle Pitts in terms of lining up everywhere and just throw him jump balls, but he's going to be a guy who can play in this league for a very long time. Jim, it's funny too. The guy's clairvoyant. He talked about Zion Johnson maybe wanting to move back inside. He's probably a better guard. Well, that's exactly what he's doing this year. He kind of moved out to that tackle position because Tyler Vrabel was a little banged up last year, but Tyler Vrabel's back healthy. Zion Johnson's going to go back into guard, really his most natural position.
So now we're in the second half. We've got a running clock, going to play some situational football, and we'll see some more players play, including Matthew Reevy, number 8. There you see him quarterbacking. Freshman out of Cincinnati.
You might not know the name Reevy, but you definitely know the name Hasselbeck if you're a Boston College fan. Well, he's cousins with Matt and Nate and Tim Hasselbeck. Obviously all former greats at Boston College. And, coaches talk about really his ability to just process the offense so quickly, able to understand defenses, read coverages, and make great decisions. So, I don't know whether that's hereditary or it's in the bloodlines, but Hasselbecks and the Reeves, they produce some good quarterbacks throughout their time.
Peter Stair getting some carries now at the running back spot. To encapsulate the first half, if you're just joining us here for the final 25 minutes or so of this Boston College spring game, Dennis Grossell moved the second team offense pretty well. Got a chance to see some young receivers making some plays. Young running backs as well, like Xavier Coleman. And then towards the latter part of that first half, Jurkovec hit Zay Flowers on 2 beautiful passes. One down the right sideline in the far corner of the end zone, and one with Flowers streaking down the left where he beat good coverage and hauled in a tough catch to give the Boston team that 14-10 advantage.
Good job up front. See number 97, Marcus Valdez. Really been a staple of this Boston College defensive line for a few years now. Solid guy. Can play inside and outside, but it's funny. You turn on the tape and watch number 97. He does not slow down at all. He is 100% at all times. Good play on that little run.
That's why he's a 2-year team captain on this team. Just plays with that type of motor that you want to see players on that defensive line play with. Reevy incomplete. Going to take a quick break. Back with more BC Spring Game after this. Back at Chestnut Hill, Chris Cotter, Mark Hertzlick. Running clock here in the second half of our BC Spring Game. Just working on some situational football here with Matt Reevy at the quarterback spot. Big pressure on the edge, and Brandon Barlow was going to get to him.
Yeah, Brandon Barlow, great job coming off that left side of the offensive line. Again, pass rushes were so important for Boston College this year. They were not very good at getting to the quarterback last year, especially when they did not bring pressure. Right here, you see a really good job. Hand swipe, getting around the offensive tackle. Kevin Pine, a guy who is a part of the great Pine family. Their great-grandfather, George Pine II, was in the NFL with the Providence Steamrollers, Chris. The Providence Steamrollers.
They were awesome.
And then great-grandfather, George Pine, played in the NFL, Boston Patriots, and Uncle Jim was with Tampa Bay. So the Pine family, they're the first 3-generation NFL family ever. And that's pretty cool.
And with Kevin, that's 6'8", 300 pounds as a freshman. He might make it 4.
Yeah, he might just make it 4. He was a big get out of Massachusetts. Very, very close, actually, with his uncle and a couple of his cousins. They live right here in New Canaan, Connecticut, near where I am, and they've been talking him up for a long time. So I've been watching him play for a while, and it's good to see him in there in some action.
I remember his father played at Virginia Tech. Am I right about that?
Yep.
Yeah. Jackson Treaster getting a carry. There's Kevin Pine.
There it is.
That's a big jump when you're 300 pounds in high school to go to the college game, isn't it? You're used to just, mowing people over.
Yeah,
high school game.
Especially Massachusetts football. It's got some great football, but you're talking 6'8", 310 pounds. Like, they don't make people like that in very many places in this world. And it just so happens in the Pine family they do. So he probably learned some technique when he got here, and I think it's going to be a great situation. I mean, anytime you want to go someplace to develop as an offensive lineman, Boston College has produced many great talents throughout the years.
Emmett Moorhead, he's going to get sacked. Sheeta Salah was able to come in and get him. Sheeta Salah is somebody that we talk about as well. Before we get to that, though, let's talk about ACC softball coming your way. No, we'll talk about spring football. Pitt's next, 1 o'clock. Get a chance to see Coach Narduzzi and Pitt Panthers as they prepare to take on UMass on September 4th. That's when they're going to start their season. North Carolina then follows. Sam Howell. Chance to see him, as Mark said earlier in the broadcast, got to replace those great running backs, but that team is poised to do some really big things and high expectations in Chapel Hill this fall. Coming up next on the ACC Network.
You mentioned Sheeta Salah right before we hit that promo, and great play right there, setting the edge. He set the edge with a long, stiff arm, knocked the run back in. And Sheeta Salah, I remember, Chris, we saw him as a true freshman, and we saw, he was long and lanky, and the coaches knew he had a lot of potential, but just this past offseason put on more weight, now 250, 255, 6'5". I mean, he's a guy that can really have some good speed off the edge, but now he has developed that power as well. So he can do speed to power in the rushes, but also be effective in the run game, which you just saw right there.
Another early enrollee at quarterback, Emmett Moorhead, as whistles blow. This is a perfect example, Mark, of how Frank Signetti, in running this pro-style offense with that terminology and whatnot, can attract quarterbacks. This kid's from California. He's a surfer.
That penalty will not be enforced. Replay third down.
So Emmett Moorhead comes from Woodside, California, finds his way to Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Big kid, 6'5", 225, but he wants to play in a system where he can learn to be a pro quarterback, and Frank Signetti offers him that opportunity. And Coach Hafley said, look, we're going to be a place, we're going to be a destination for pro-style quarterbacks, and this is a perfect example.
Yeah, Coach said he might have a better arm than anybody on this team, which I guess that includes Phil Jurkovec. And I think it's a testament to the direction that Boston College football program is going. You mentioned the reasons why, but also the connections. I mean, the only reason why he's here, really, he missed his senior year just due to COVID. They canceled the season. And so he worked out with a quarterback coach the entire offseason. This quarterback coach knew Signetti back from Signetti's coaching days. And so he would send Coach Signetti videos and see the balls that throw in the air. And every single time they'd get the video, Signetti would knock on Jeff Hafley's door and say, look what they said. Look what Emmett did now. And now he's now in Chestnut Hill. They're excited about his future.
You saw Coach Signetti there. Affable guy. Always loved talking with him. Double tights. Going to run Andre Hines to the right side. Picks up 3 or 4 yards. Good-looking athlete, Andre Hines. Freshman from Staten Island, New York.
Yeah, he's had a couple good carries in this game so far, and We mentioned earlier his size, adding another dynamic. We talked Javion Dane, possibly an inside runner. Andre Hines could be an inside runner, but with this offense, you got to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield too. So, blocking, pass blocking, it's going to be a pass-first offense, and catching the ball out of the backfield are going to be at a premium for these young guys if they want to be able to get on the field come fall.
Moorhead play action, though. He handed it off to Hines, and he gets stuck in the backfield. There's Hunter Long. He's going to join us on the other end of this break. Don't go anywhere. We'll chat with future NFL tight end coming up.
I'm ordering some burritos.
Oh, nice. Oh. Burritos? Get a freshly made footlong from Subway instead.
Forward to the NFL draft on Thursday, but none more so than this man right here. Hunter Long is clearly looking forward to it. He joins us right now. Thanks for joining us. How you feeling?
Yeah, definitely. I feel great. I appreciate you guys having me on. I love being here back at BC, so it's been good.
Yeah, what's it like? You're coming back on the field, and it's so funny. The first time you return to your campus, it's your team. You feel like you should be in those colors out there playing, but you're able to watch now, and we see you got the tan going, New Hampshire boy, went out to California to train. You're looking good, looking fresh.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I love being back out here with my teammates, and these are all the guys that I came to BC with. So it's awesome to be back.
What's the training like as you prepare for the draft? What has that been like out in California?
It's been awesome. It's obviously a lot, but it's the whole reason you do this, to play football all day. So it's football all day, but that's what I love to do, and that's what you do this for.
Yeah, it's great. And what a difference did it make last year getting in this Frank Signetti offense? Obviously, you and Phil had a great connection, hauled in the most catches by any tight end in college football last year.
Yeah.
What was it like just to switch over to this offense and finding your groove with Phil?
Yeah, it was a dream come true for me, honestly. The offense was amazing last year. Obviously, I'm going to say that because I had a lot of catches, but it was just a fun offense to play in. It's a fun offense for any skill position. As you've seen today, we've been throwing the ball over the field, and this is just vanilla stuff that's kind of regular for this offense. So, it's a fun offense to play, and I had so much fun last year playing it with Phil and all the other guys, and it was awesome for me.
Hunter, is there a player, a tight end in the NFL you like to model your game after, or at least somebody you've watched over the years that you've taken some things from?
Yeah, the two that I love to watch are Gronk and Kittle. They all-around tight ends that just play the position the right way, and I love watching them do it.
Yeah, and Kittle's a guy that Signetti had his paws on in his coaching days at times, and not a bad player to model yourself after, but you got to get used to it. Pretty soon, people are going to start saying Hunter Long is a guy that they modeled their game after.
Yeah. I hope so. That'd be an honor.
What is one thing that you're kind of most excited for during the draft? I know you're going to be at home with your family. They're going to have a camera there with you, so all BC faithful can tune in and watch. But just what are you excited for that day or that couple days to hear your name called?
Yeah, I'm just excited for the dream to come true. This is a dream of pretty much any football player growing up in high school and in the little leagues of football, and it's just surreal that the day is so soon and it's right around the corner, and I'm just excited to be home with my family for the moment and be in Exeter, and it's a dream come true for me.
You just saw Charlie Gordonier, tight end, making a catch, getting it inside the 10 here in the spring game. And
tight ends, baby.
When you talk to coaches and players that are in the league, what do you think the biggest jump is going to have to be for you to make from the college game to the NFL?
I think the biggest jump I've seen is just the mental side of it. Everyone at the next level knows the game in and out. Every aspect of it, every aspect of the play, the broader scheme of the broader picture of the scheme. I feel at the college level, it's not as many people in the field know as much, and I think that's going to be the biggest jump, is just to know everything I need to know about the playbook, and kind of I'm excited to dive into that and start working on that. But I think just the mental side of it.
What I'm most excited for is to have them call like a tight end trap block on Aaron Donald for you, and let you put Aaron Donald on his back.
Hey, I'm excited for that too.
That's great. Thank you so much, Hunter, for just taking some time and joining us today. I know everybody at the Heights is excited for you, and we will all be watching on draft day, waiting for your name to be called. So thank you so much.
Definitely, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Hunter. Hunter Long's name will certainly be called on Thursday night. Let me bring you back to live action to get a score. Jackson Treaster carry the ball across the goal line. So players up and down this depth chart getting an opportunity to contribute here this afternoon.
And Dalen Menard's been in at quarterback on this drive. A little flat route. Probably was a tackle on the sideline. It was Joe Marinaro. But there you go.
Playing
good
to the
touchdown.
Now going for 2 with Menard. In the flat, Treaster again. Looked like a similar play, and this time 2 points instead of 6. Team Eagles extends their lead as Dalen Menard, Emmett Moorhead come in, lead this team down the field. Menard finds Treaster for the score. Back to wrap things up. Chestnut Hill after this.
Do you know what's bananas?
Dad.
Food Lion's double money.
Play here in Chestnut Hill. Andrew Landry just caught a touchdown pass. Quarterback converted to tight end. Nice route, nice hands from Matt Reevy. Going to take you to the top of the hour. Going to visit with Coach Hafley here in a little bit before we hand it off to the crew in Pittsburgh for the Pitt Spring game. Still got UNC to wrap up our triple header later on this afternoon here on the ACC Network. Had Georgia Tech last night, so wrapping up spring practice here with a bunch of games. Here's Coach Hafley.
Yeah, we've seen a lot so far in this game, and we've seen, obviously the pass-heavy offense. Really, the question marks going into this spring and going into next season are going to be, okay, who's going to step up at that running back position, and are they going to get more carries this year? And it looks like Travis Levy is going to be in that mix. It's going to be Xavier Coleman in that mix. And then we've seen kind of a splattering of other running backs making plays. Javion Dane, Peter Stair, Jackson Treaster. I mean, all these guys and Andre Hines have done well today. So, I mean, I think those questions are going to be answered. And then offensive line is taken care of completely. Wide receiver is completely taken care of. And we've seen the tight end position be filled up pretty well also. Brendan Smith made some great catches, and Spencer Witter, Charlie Gordonier. So I think the offense is in really good shape. And, defensively, we talk about the transfers that have come in that have made a difference. Chris Banks, and then Donovan Easy on the front line has got some good pass rush. So I think it's exciting to see what Boston College is going to do defensively, losing so many guys, but they obviously have brought in the right pieces. You get a shot of Jaden Lars would be probably the most exciting transfer to come in, and since I can remember, probably since Phil Jurkovec, honestly.
Yeah, last year from Notre Dame, and opposite sides of the football, but 2 players that are going to be leading the offense and defense respectively this season. Coming in from FSU. This game represents the 13th of 15 spring practices for BC, so they'll have a couple of practices after this before wrapping things up for the spring, and looking forward to their off-season workouts. Final minute of the game here as we work a little red zone situational. Ezekiel Tide on the receiving end.
It's interesting, too. Coach Hafley decided that, look, rather than putting so much pressure on this spring game and making it the final moment to show the coaches what you do before you leave, there's 2 other practices where they can work on a lot of these things he saw from this game. And we have Jeff Hafley now on the headsets on the sideline. We can ask him a little bit about that. But, Coach, thanks for joining us again. You got 2 practices left. How excited are you to just still have your fingers on these guys for a few days longer after seeing what they could do in the spring game?
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but, with some of the breaks that we had, and, we had the spring game plugged into this date, so we didn't want to change it. We'll just do some situational work and look at some little things and really get them prepped up for training camp. But it's awesome. We still get more time. Thought the guys did a really nice job today. Both sides kind of went at it. Had a little fun at the end of the second half, and we made some nice plays.
Yeah, that's fun when you see Zay Flowers make those catches. We had fun calling it, and obviously I think you probably on the field had fun as well. What else did you see specifically today that you were pleased with?
Well, just starting with Phil, right? Started off a little bit slow, and the way he ended was awesome. I mean, anytime you come out here, Fans are here. It's a little bit different. You're in the stadium. Probably had some jitters. Him and Zay connected on a few. Jalen on a few. Really liked the way the D-line got after it. I thought the DBs competed really hard. I thought the defense overall was great. They were flying around, making plays on the ball, had a couple picks. Just think it was a great day, great atmosphere. I think the guys had a great time, and hopefully the parents did. That's the most important thing right now.
Yeah, you mentioned a bunch of these defenders that are true freshmen that are coming in. They've been mid-year guys. All of them seemed like they made plays, from Bryce Steele to C.J. Burton to Donovan Ezeriku. I'm so not getting that, Chris. Give me some help with that right now.
Ezeriku.
I
You're
like
gonna get it. Just give it time.
I'm gonna get time. But what did you saw from these guys was really what you had wanted to. Is that correct?
Yeah, Donovan probably had a few more sacks. He'll probably be mad at me because I let it go. But I thought he came off the ball and rushed really well. Bryce was flying around. I thought he would have had a couple big hits today. And then CJ had the one interception when I actually called the sack. And then I was mad at myself because I called the sack and I should have let it play. But it was cool to see him burst, break on the ball. Just think about that. Those guys are high school seniors. And everything from going to school to still being kind of in a COVID climate in college. Just what an awesome job. Just proud of those guys.
Coach, what do you do now after these next two practices are over? Kind of what's the big picture schedule until you reconvene in the summer?
Well, then the guys will have finals, and we want to give them time off to focus on the finals. I think that's really important. Then I want the guys to get away, go home, be with their families, kind of decompress. I'm not into just keeping guys here the whole way through. I think you got to get away from it, and then that way when we go, they're excited, and we'll go full speed ahead. For the coaches, we'll watch the cut-ups in the spring really hard. We get that time now since it's a dead period, and you can't get on the road, so it'll kind of be like the NFL. We'll just come in and do football and watch spring and make sure we get ready for training camp.
Well, I appreciate you, Coach. It looks like your team is on a knee waiting for someone, and it's probably you. So we're going to let you get going now, but thank you so much for being involved so much in this broadcast of your spring game.
No, I appreciate both of you guys. Thanks for covering us, and wish you guys were able to come, and I look forward to the fall when you can be here and we can finally do this in person. Have a great weekend. I hope your families are great.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Coach
guys.
Hafley, let's put up the schedule for 2021 real quick before we exit and hand it off to the dudes in Pittsburgh. As Mark was mentioning earlier, and as Coach said, hopefully we'll be able to get to Chestnut Hill here in a little bit. And when we do, they'll open up their season against Colgate on the 4th of September before a couple of road games and then coming home against Mizzou at the end of September, which is going to be an interesting game against an SEC team and will be fun to watch. Mark, what do you make of the day?
I think it was a really good day. I think that these guys all came together. They produced offensively. Defensively, they got to the quarterback and made some big stands. But what we saw from Jurkovec in this offense, being able to air the ball out down the field, is what we are now used to in seeing this Boston College offense play. So it's going to be a bright future and a bright season for this team.
That's going to wrap it up for Mark and myself, for our entire crew here in Chestnut Hill. Thanks for watching. Let's send it to West Roddy and E. Wood in Pittsburgh. The Panthers spring game coming up next.
We welcome you to our